Williams, and today we're going to be talking about how to turn your skills into money. This is especially prudent if you're trying to figure out how to have multiple streams of income based on your skill and you just don't know where to start. We're going to be showing you a brand new AI tool called Opus Clip, and we have the perfect guest to do this with. We want to bring up to the stage now, by the way, he's been here a couple of times, but we have him in studio, and that is Dustin, Poly Innovator. How are we doing today?
How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good.
Man, okay, good. It's great to see you. Again, let us know in the chat if you're watching live or hashtag replay if you're watching this as a replay. Dustin, first of all, tell the good people who you are.
Yeah, I'm a polymathic content creator. I do a lot of different kinds of things. I have a lot of different arms like an octopus reaching out. And one of my arms that's probably most prudent to this is the polying content, this content repurposing arm, where I love talking to people like yourself. I had you on the show where we just nerd out around this content creation and repurposing at the same time. And it's just one of those things where I just get so nerdy about any kind of tool. I know you do too. You and I have talked at least on like 4 occasions now where we just nerded out on tools. It was just crazy.
Yeah, no, this is great. And, you're a perfect person to bring on, especially when we're talking about Opus Clip, especially 3.0 that just came out. Yeah. We're going to really be talking about how we're using it in the business, how others can use this with their own business, and talk about all the features and everything. If you don't mind, to start out with, can we kind of talk about like this project that we have and why we're using Opus Clip, and then we can dive in, Dustin? Is that all right?
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
All right, so real quick, if you're watching live and this is the first time that you're watching, what we're doing is we're teaching you how to build freedom. And we're doing it Build Freedom DIY, how you can be doing this yourself and turning your skills into money. So what we're doing is showing you the proper steps, ways to start, and how we would approach it. But we have a twist today because we're showing you, when we're going through those different ways, how to use tools like Opus Clip to do this for your brand. So we're going to go through the steps and then kind of talk about what we're using Opus Clip for, our other channel, what we're doing with DIY media makers, all of those things, and kind of diving in and seeing what you think. Okay, man?
Sounds good.
All right. So when we're breaking this up, if you're trying to turn your skills into money, here's the 5 different ways to have different streams of income. This is what we break down. Number 1, freelancing. 2, consulting. 3, resource guides, like Notion docs that we love to do, cohorts, or courses. But a lot of people might feel a little bit overwhelmed and not know where to go with this. So we have a step-by-step progression of how to progress if you're going to turn your skills into money. If you're at the point, number 1, if you're like, wait a minute, Doc, like I haven't freelanced, I haven't started. Well, we first suggest that you either volunteer or do something at a reduced rate to get testimonials, to get started with this, and then go into freelancing. Freelancing, if you're going to be offering your services, whatever skill you have. By the way, this is off the cuff, but Dustin, is this correct that you are a streaming instructor, a swimming instructor?
I am. I've taught for over a decade.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, you have a book out too?
Not yet. I've been working on it. In fact, I was trying to get it out last year, but I'm working on getting it out.
Okay, cool. So do you still do lessons like for like adults, kids? What's going on?
All ages. I've taught someone upwards of 70, 80 years old, all the way down to, I think the youngest was like 1 year old. I've even taught a class where it was like parents and babies at one point too.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so like that's perfect when we're talking about, okay, freelancing, getting the reps in, doing those things, just like Dustin just said, that's where we're really at. Then going from there, consulting, being able to either scale your time so you're not doing all the work right there, or being with the person, okay, how can you consult? Can you do this one-to-one or one-to-many? And then from there, you can decide, do you want to do group classes? Do you want to do resource guides, books? What do you want to do to scale it? And that's our process, is how we go through this. Now,
if I may interject real quick too.
Definitely.
I started out as a lifeguard. I actually volunteered to become a swim instructor. I actually volunteered to my boss, like, hey, let me go teach that class for you because I know you're short staffed. And that got my foot in the door. It's all about getting that foot in the door. And then I became freelance and doing private lessons. Then I started doing group stuff, that kind of thing.
I love it. I love it. See, look at this. This is perfect progression. I love this. We didn't plan this. We didn't plan this. So this is great. Like, this is a place where you can start. So in the chat, or if you're watching on replay, let us know, what skill do you have that you're trying to make money? Now, if you're on the Doc Williams channel, you might be saying like, well, I just want to create an app. And you can do that later on. But a lot of times, if you don't have expertise in that field, you might benefit being a freelancer, consulting in that field before you start building that app. If you're already a consultant or a freelancer and you know that space, great. We can look at an avenue to build an app, but there are several different iterations. You're going to have to do more than a minimal viable product to really scale it. And sometimes these streams of income, even if you have an app, you can be having a progression of what you need to do with your business as you go down this line. So this next portion that we talk about is really deciding on how you can monetize, and we'll talk about repurposing. Why are we talking about this? But if you're still deciding where should you go, you have so many skills. Think about, on one side, what are your transferable skills? What do you have? Dustin, as being a poly innovator, first of all, talk about how many skills do you have? How many different things do you have on that side?
Well, if I talk about my expertise, content creation and repurposing is one of them. Swimming is one of them, and I'm pretty confident in those skills. I mean, I built computers since I was 10. There's a lot of different tech skills. I love going down rabbit holes and finding unique tools. That's a skill in itself too. Just, I think you understand that when you go down that deep dive, you find something really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all of those things are all clips that can be right there that you can explore. And then based on all those skills, like you just mentioned, building computers, all those things, looking at that on one side, looking at goals, and not just monetarily, where, like, how do you want to spend your time? Where do you want to spend it in the world? Then that allows you to dial in the middle, how you want to monetize a monetization, or really make money for yourself. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. That first step. And that goes into repurposing, man. Like, I think it's important, whatever skill you have, if you start creating content and create a channel on YouTube, preferably, but you can choose other channels, you can start showcasing your skills. People will get to know you and then go from there. So could you tell us a little bit about Opus Clip, and we can kind of talk about the tool?
Yeah, so I've been in the repurposing space for a long time. I've seen a lot of tools come and go, and when I first saw Opus Clip, I was astounded by how quickly and easy it is to use. And that was where I wanted to start off with this. You literally drop the video link, goes in there, you choose a couple settings, and it runs your video. Once you get that video processed, it gives you anywhere between 20 to 30 clips, depending on how long your video is, maybe at least 10 at the very least. And there was times where I got 40 clips from a 90-minute video. It's one of those things where these clips, it may not all be usable, but most of them are, and they're usually pretty good too. Like, just right off the bat, and with a little bit of tweaking, you can make them even better too. It's just really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll go into this in a second because, again, we love using different tools. We'll kind of talk about what we're using it for. Before we go into this, actually, one of my friends just mentioned this to me the other day. Have you heard about the 7, 11, and 4 rule when like navigating the like the user journey? Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't, no.
Okay, I gotta share this because I kind of knew it, but I still love this. So this was unveiling like Google's 7-Eleven 4 rule, and this is a reason why we're talking about it before we get into this. But when we're looking at this breakdown right here, let's break it down. It was saying to get a customer, like a loyal customer, 7 hours of content, 11 touch points, 4 different locations or mediums. And that's the rule, how you start dialing in to get those lifelong customers. And when I saw that, it kind of just clicked and I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense, actually. Perfect sense.
And that's why taking like an omni-channel octopus-like approach is important, because then they have more opportunities to get those touch points at different locations.
Exactly. So we're going to just talk about this rule, what we're doing, and how this plays into a part by Opus Clip, what we love to do. The first thing is like the 7 hours of content. To me, if you live stream or create longer pieces of content, that can shoot up very quickly if people start consuming those longer pieces of content. What do you think about that?
Right. Live stream is one of the quickest ways to get started because you could always chop it up into different medium length clips or shorts, as well as just doing things like a podcast on top of that too. And then you
Yeah.
could also transcribe it. So you can really start from the beginning and get a lot of stuff done very quickly.
Yeah, I love it. So with us, we're gonna just bring into the account and kind of talk about like what we've been doing and what has been working. So exactly what you were saying, we loaded up a couple different types of content here, but we had ones that were more hour interviews or breakdowns of
Mhm.
different live streams. And like you were saying, I was pretty amazed by like the clips that it produced. And then when you have this, it already gives the score of what it could be. Then, and by the way, I'm going to be talking about this as an amateur. Dustin, do you want to go through this or you want me to go through the scoring thing? Whatever you want, man.
The scoring thing is getting, they just updated it too, because it used to just be the actual number. Now they have the hook and flow and engagements, and this is all different parts where it's trying to help you by telling you like, hey, this has a really good hook. This one actually has a good flow, meaning it has a beginning, middle, and end. It feels like it's actually going to engage. Is it actually trend worthy? That kind of thing. That's really all I can really say on that
Yeah,
part.
it's wonderful. And so what we're doing is I can show like the our other channel. We loaded it up. So this is an almost an hour
Mhm.
video and we have 29 clips out. So this could be almost every day if we wanted to load it in. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say too, I think they recently changed it to where they're trying to go for less clips but higher quality too. Because I used to, for an
Ooh.
hour long, I used to get like maybe 35, and about 80% of them aren't really that useful at that time. Nowadays, it's more closer to like 85, 90% usable rate, which is nice.
That's really interesting. Okay, and I like how like it's dialing it in more
Yeah.
because that I would rather want to have better clips anyway.
And something
Um
I want to mention too is that
yeah.
that was a screen share video like we're doing right now. And there's a certain reframe feature where if you click screen share, it'll actually format it more effectively, whereas your video of you talking with the screen share on top of it too.
I love that. I saw that. I saw that. And I don't trust my laptop to try to like edit while we're live streaming. I think bad things will happen, but we're going to be coming out with a video showing all these things. Um, so I wanted to ask you this. I'm going to be talking about the different types of content. And
Mhm.
actually, it was so good. I was like, I'm going to use this for both channels. I had an older AppSumo video that I had that I was interviewed before I started growing out this beard. My wife is like, "You look so much younger." I was like, "It wasn't that long ago." She's like, "You look so much younger." I was like, okay, thank you." Anyway, so with with this is what I really liked all of the different clips. I'm going to be loading it into my main channel too.
Yeah.
I really thought that was good.
I had a lot of solo videos I dropped in there because out of the 200 plus, like 240 videos I've made, half of them are solo, half of them are interviews on my main channel at least. And it's interesting to think about how I put all of them pretty much into Opus. While
Wow.
a lot of my solo videos weren't that good at that time, I think there was still a lot of really great clips I was able to get from that and from the interviews especially. And now if I were to probably redo them, I probably could get even more clips because I ran it back like last summer when the AI wasn't as good.
I gotta start looking into this. Okay, so we're gonna go through a couple questions. I'll bring up on the other channel. Let me bring up the other channel so people are
Mhm.
seeing in real time, media makers, what we're doing and why we're doing this. Hold on one second. And as we're doing this right here, let me ask you this. Have you seen a certain format of a video that has performed better than the other? There's so many different formats, like we said, talking heads, all these. Is there
Mhm.
anything that sticks out for you with using Opus Clip or anything like that?
Well, I know that they're really trying to go for everything. They're trying to be able to do any kind of video, and I think that they're out of all the tools, they have the most potential to be able to probably do that. And podcasting is where they started out, and so it's obviously going to be the bit better when it comes to finding the clips and just more optimized for that. Talking heads have been doing really well. Even tutorials, I've been surprised how well it does. And while it's not optimized for gaming yet, I have actually had some good experience with a lot of cool gaming clips as well. If you have enough chatter in the game itself, so it's kind of
Mm,
interesting how like even types of videos that you wouldn't expect to be good at it, it's been pretty cool.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So let me bring this over. So if people are watching on Twitter or they're watching on the Doc Williams channel, so we basically we're doing a social experiment. We're doing this with Opus Clip over the next pretty much 100 days or so. It started last week, so all the way until May 22nd. What we're doing is we're uploading daily videos, shorts and long form videos,
Mm.
and starting to see what happens. So we started releasing the shorts this week based off the content. We'll see how it goes. And now Opus Clip is having different styles that you could have with 3.0. Like, so there's different ones if you're looking at Ali or you're looking at like just so many different Hermosi.
Mr.
Like,
Beast, Harold Mosley, yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. And I'm like, so we just picked those. I thought it was pretty good. And then we're repurposing all of our videos and our live streams. We're live streaming right now on the channel and then
All
pumping
meta.
it back in. Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. Oh, I cut you off. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I was just saying how meta because I could see our
Yeah.
live stream right there.
Yeah, man. Oh, listen, and the reason I think the reason we're doing this too is I've been seeing a lot of brilliant people that
Mhm.
are a lot smarter than me on Twitter. I'm like, you need to start putting out content. And I keep seeing people too afraid to start. And they're like, I just don't know where to like they psych themselves out.
Yeah.
And now with all of these tools, it's the best time to get started. The best time.
How much are you trying to post per day? Because if you make, like, let's say, a 50-minute live stream or something like that, you'll probably get at least a few dozen clips, I would say. And so, are you going to try to post all of them, or are you trying to do like the best clip?
That's a
What's
great
your strategy
question.
on that?
Right now, and I'm open to suggestions, one clip, one short a day. One short a
Mhm.
day. I already see that face. Should I
I'm listening. I'm listening.
but then I was thinking about consistency of not missing to see the cadence. Then what
Mm.
I have next week is I have it going out at a specific time, 10:48 a.m. Eastern, and then I'm switching over to evening times next week to see is there a different bump? What's the best cadence? We have enough content to put out multiple clips a day, but you just brought up the point of like quality. Should we be hitting like quality over quantity? What have you seen
Mm.
with shorts and in channels?
So something I talked about with a lot of my guests on the creator interviews was this shotgun versus sniper approach. And what you just described was the sniper approach. You're trying to find a cadence, trying to test out different ways of doing it and seeing which ones work, even like different editing styles from Opus Clip, changing that up and trying to experiment. Versus the shotgun approach, which is what I've been doing where I post 10 to 15 clips from my interviews each day. Like I'm doing 10 clips a day at the very least.
Oh my
And
god.
I definitely see some growth from that. YouTube and Pinterest both, I'm getting 25,000 views on my main channel for my main content. So it's one of those things where I kind of think with shorts, shotgun approach is really good. But if you could do the sniper and try to optimize too, that's also a really good idea. It really depends on your style of thinking, I think.
What let me ask you this. Does it matter? So this is my goal. If my goal is to start having people know about my skill, and
Mhm.
so it's almost on the level I view as shorts are more like billboards, people just coming to know who I am, and then I want them to go into more long form. Do you think the shotgun approach would still work for more awareness? Or is it my skill level? It's still,
Oh.
it's more purposeful. What do you think?
I think if you're trying to go for awareness, get as many doors as possible. So the more shorts you have, especially if they're already quality, if you're already making a good live stream or a good video, the quality is there. What happens is there's people who will make maybe shoddy content and they're not really putting the effort into making quality videos. And then when they put it into Opus, Opus is going to find clips no matter what. If it's going to be good or not, then that's something that we have to kind of keep in mind. So if you could do shotgun with a quality source, that would be good.
So that's a great point. This is so let me ask you about this. And again, we're going to be testing this next week. So we're going to be seeing the numbers. We'll see what happens.
Mhm.
I think our best content, and this is with Jay, this is my videographer. We've shared a space for many, many years for our content studio, actually. And so I'm going to play you a little bit. We'll see if it works on stream, and we'll see about this. We won't play this sound, but you see the quality is so much better. and maybe this is insecurity talking. I feel like if I go this route and put out this one as well, will I then it will change, like they see these clips, then they see more tutorial or they see more live streaming. The quality shifts so much. Does
Hmm.
that matter?
That's a good question. No one's really asked me that before. I think that in the end, especially if you're on YouTube, you can use content links. So you could link to this long form video through that clip on YouTube, and they'll be able to see the original source regardless. So even if the clip isn't as good as what you're kind of inferring there, you can still do something about getting someone to the actual point that you're trying to get them to, which is the long form video.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna try it
Also,
out.
little side note, that one clip we were watching was 1 minute and 2 seconds, and since YouTube has that length limitation, you could always chop off a few words at the end to get that first, like the last few seconds off, so you can actually work, because otherwise it's not going to post as a short.
Thank you for telling me this now. I did it by accident. It made it a video, and I was like, "What is going on here?" They told me it was a short,
Yeah.
but no. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And well, I guess we'll talk about the editor too. So, what if I've been experimenting? Let's just talk about it. So, going into the editing of the clip, and okay, and we'll talk about this. Like, first of all, if people are like, "Wait a minute," just because you're sponsored or this is happening with Opus Clip, you won't talk about it. Other things. Listen, we'll talk about repurpose.io as well. I don't have a problem with it, but I think it's just a different workflow. And I think it's for two different types of use cases and
Yeah.
type of people too. I feel like this is almost like using Chat GPT, that it's so simple and so easy to use. A lot of people that have trouble with, I think repurpose.io works if you're into using tools like Make or Zapier, that
Zapier,
you
yeah.
already know like how to design like what you want the outcome to be. Opus Clip is like dummy level. That's just like put this in and do it for me, and it helps you. And
Let
that's
me
why I like it.
let me share how I joined up with Opus Clip, because yes, I am partnered with them. I work with them. It's one of those things where before that, I fell in love with it. I had tried out pretty much all the tools, including Repurpose, including Recast and Chopcast, and all these other tools that have been around for a while. But like you said, it wasn't the dummy level. You would go in and you would have too many steps to get from point A to point B. And with the backlog of videos that I did over 130 interviews over the last like 3 years. I did so many that I could not even get around to repurposing them, even with these other tools. Opus made it so simple that I just dropped it in and went into editing these clips, and then boom, download from there. It was just one of those things where I could do them a way more in mass, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. No, and like you were talking about, I think it was change the layout by scene. You can
Mm.
change it based on fill, fit. If I had the screen share, it will chop it, it will make it one. I just think it's so intuitive
Mm-hmm.
to just start doing those things. It was a game changer. And so that's why I'm like, I think if I was, and that's what we're doing and showing ones how to use it to get started with their brand. um this is the platform that I would use to repurpose first before I go to any other one. I would tell people, if you feel overwhelmed, just feed it into this. And
Yeah.
then I only have a few tools where I'm like, this is like dummy proof for very specific use cases. They're not perfect for everything, but for repurposing, it's Opus Clip. If someone is having trouble with email marketing and they feel so overwhelmed, I would actually go with SendFox, because
That's
it takes
simple.
out, it's simple. It's not going to give you everything. It's not perfect for all of your funnels, but like if you feel overwhelmed, you're like have anxiety about posting, it's going to do like 90% of the work. And I feel like that's what Opus Clip really like excel, or basically stands out beyond the crowd, is like how easy it is to use.
You just gotta do it. Like when it comes to most challenges, whether it's email, blogging, video creation, making shorts, doing it is what's key. And if the tool can make it way easier for you to do it, then that's what's really important, I would say.
Yeah. We didn't have this conversation. I didn't tell you this as
Oh
well,
no.
but I've been experimenting this week of using Opus Clip and then also taking some of the content and then dropping it into CapCut too.
Mm.
And
What are you doing with CapCut?
so That's a great question. Sometimes this is one of the things actually I was going to tell you. Some of the things that I've noticed, and it could just be my laptop. Some of the features when I'm trying to do a lot of editing in Opus Clip, I'm seeing some lag. Some of the editing, and so if there's something I can clip faster, or I'm like, this is something that I can like. I'm getting the basic narrative. I love the flow in Opus. It took me a lot of the way there. Let me just finish the like quick cuts because even I'm cutting out just like Opus will cut out the ums and all the filler words, but I notice even for myself, I'm like that pause or that like someone's like taking like, and I'm like, I'm trying to make it as condensed as possible. I'll put it into CapCut and then I'll export it from there.
Well, and I don't know what they're gonna do about some of the ums and uhs. I think they started cutting out some of that, or they added a feature about that a while back, but it's not as like super in depth like Glean or something like some of the other tools. I think too, if you're having lag, it might be the amount of tabs you have open or having enough RAM. You said you're on the laptop, that could be a big issue. Some people try to use
Fortunate.
the Opus on mobile, for example, and it's just not meant for that. The UI looks really great on mobile. There's a great design team behind Opus. And so people think that when they're on mobile, we can use it on mobile, but it's a desktop optimized app. And so I have this conversation with a lot of people on the Discord, or like, I'm on my iPhone, and I'm like, well, go on your MacBook because it's not going to work as well.
You're so right. And it's actually the next thing on my list. I'm getting a very refurbished and used MacBook, like a MacBook Mini. No. Yeah, I'm getting a Mac Mini, like a M1, but I'm getting like 16 RAM in that bad boy to do more of my editing and everything. Um, this is it, it's been this has been a nice ride with this with this MacBook Pro, but it's just
End of
maxed out.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, this is let me tell you something. Only a couple of years ago I got this, but this was actually a suggestion from Sam Parr back in the day. It was a 2015 MacBook Pro, and then you basically max it out for the basically the memory. And this thing, I can't upgrade it anymore.
Yeah.
I can't upgrade it. I can't change operating systems. This thing will die. But I use it for everything. I
I
still do it
wonder if
for
you
all
could
my
probably
editing.
put Linux on it, but that's the one thing about MacBooks is that they're very limited. Even
Yeah.
with RAM, a lot of times it's soldered on, so you can't change it. I'm
Yeah.
a anti-Apple dude, so I can't really say
See,
much.
okay, we're gonna have to move on from this conversation. This is
Bring
gonna
it
go
on,
in a
dog.
different way. It's
No,
not.
it's okay.
We're friends. We're gonna
Now we're
keep this.
enemies.
We're gonna keep it as friends. Um,
Come to
tell
the
me.
dark side.
No. So tell me a little bit about. Now we're thinking about doing more podcasting. I want to get more
Mhm.
guests. What should I be using? Should I now, I'm using StreamYard, all of my stuff. And by the way, for everything to get to my channel where it's about 30,000 right now on one show, most of like I will say 98% is all done with StreamYard. And I used to do a lot of highly like edited in production. I'm not sure if I already told you this. I do one take and that's all
Oh
I
yeah.
do. And those are the highest performing videos. Every time I spend money on the editing, everything like that, I always my viewers go down. So I only use one shot like this, one take, and then I upload it. For the very beginning, it might take me a couple times to like do the intro I want, but all the rest of the stuff I don't edit.
Mhm.
Now going into more interviews and podcasts, what should I be using? Should I be using Riverside? Should I be using something else? Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, I know we were talking a little bit on social about this. I actually dropped Riverside recently just because there was a lot of weird performance issues with it where I was trying to edit the audio and it wouldn't work, or like I was recording with a guest. The guest ended up having a mistake and they wanted to start over. So, like a minute and a half into the recording, I stopped the recording and started a new one. And it actually split my guest and I into two separate videos. And just weird glitches like that caused me to have too many issues with Riverside to stick around to it. StreamYard is a good app. We're using it right now. I find that podcasting in StreamYard doesn't feel just right. It's more for like live streams and more for that one shots, like you're saying. Obviously, right now this is good, but I feel like there's probably other things that you could do with other tools. I know that I was looking into Waveroom, which is a new one that just came out, waveroom.com, I think.
I'm looking
And
it up. Mm-hmm.
it's it's given me some issues too. It's brand new. It just came out. I tried using it a couple times and I couldn't connect with my guests, but it looks really cool and it's free. There was also another one I was checking out too. What was it? Oh, Podcastle. That's another one that I'm actually might be going into that.
Have you tried it out yet?
I haven't yet. Maybe I could play around with it with you at some point. We can just do a
Yeah,
quick recording
let me know.
because they have a
What
lot
are
of
you
built-in
liking about
features.
that?
Podcastle?
Yeah.
It has a lot of really interesting features, like I think AI editor. It has a lot of cool different things when it comes to repurposing as well. It's all built in, and I'm also really excited about the audio enhancing because I don't really do much when it comes to my podcast. Like I
Mm-hmm.
should do better with my audio enhancing because I don't master it very well, and I'm wondering if some of the built-in stuff there would have that. Yeah, because
Okay.
this I just came across this just recently when I was looking around. It's like that's pretty cool. AI generates voices, voice cloning, I think too, or something like that at some point. It's also a
How
podcast
old's
host.
the? Oh, nice. How old is it? Have they been around for a couple years and now they're pivoting? Are they brand new?
I think they've been around
Mm,
for a little bit. I'm pretty sure I even saw them last
yeah.
year at the conference, I think too. But it's one of
Okay.
those things where they've been around for a bit. I think they added more features too, which is interesting.
Okay. Okay. That's good. We'll have to keep an eye out on them. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about a few things, and then I have a couple questions for you too.
Of course.
so there's so okay. Let me and again, like you're saying, my tab. So I need to calm that down. So I'm getting rid of a couple. Okay.
Yeah,
So
you are kind of laggy on my end here.
I'm like, you see this? Like, hold on one second, everybody. Sorry. Sorry, everybody. Let me switch pages, everything like that. Okay. So I think it would be interesting. And by the way, thank you for your time.
Of course.
Um, I want to talk about our tech stack that we're using right now.
Okay.
And then from there, um, I want to talk about like, let's just talk about this. Do you want me to go first about the tech stack that I'm using for it?
I think
And
so. That'd be cool.
okay. So this is what I've got so far. So, and we want to do like full like spectrum, right? So,
Yeah, all of it.
okay. So my bread and butter keeps coming back to paper form. I do almost all of my like capturing, lead capturing, all my resource guides are connected to paper form. So a lot of the lead capture forms look like that they look like they're Notion pages. And I
Mhm.
find the less professional I look, like almost, and my audience is more that first step. They're not professionals a lot of times. I think I'm just hypothesizing. That's why I think it converts high. But
Yeah.
everything that I make it look like almost like a higher echelon, I feel like it never converts. The only thing that I feel that's more like corporate that converts high is probably the no code trends report, but that's
Mm.
still put on paper form as well. This one
You're the
pretty much
DIY
converts high.
doc.
Yeah, yeah, I try to, man. Um, Let me show you this other one. I'll show you. I think this is just gives you an example. So the answer is I use this is like most of my resource documents.
Mhm.
That's it. And it looks, I mean, I just did a screenshot of Notion and then I just do the form down below. And this is the highest converting like landing pages I have. This is it. So I use, excuse me, I use paper form for all my forms and gathering. I use SendFox for my emails right now. I
Right.
was using ConvertKit for a while. There's reasons why I'm not using it currently. I'm testing out Beehive. We'll talk about it. But right now, Paperform, SendFox, Notion. I've actually gone back to Google Sheets quite a bit now.
Interesting.
And Opus Clip, StreamYard.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it now. You know, I used to have like 24 in my
Yeah, you
stack.
were trying to cut back, I think, the last time we talked.
Yep. I think that's it. I think that's all the tech that I use.
That's interesting. I kind of sorted myself. I never go back to Google Sheets. I'm using it right now for like listing out a list of names, for example. But that was
Yeah.
just because I needed to copy it pretty easily. But for the most part, I use Airtable at the very least. If I'm not using Notion or some other kind of database tool, I use like Airtable just for the as like a base need.
You might. Okay. Have you heard of Smart Suite?
I think so.
listen, and I'll tell them. Everyone knows I say this joke, but Airtable, Smart Suite, and Softer all have the same colors together. I don't.
We can join
You
up.
can say who. Yeah, I'm like they all have the same. Smart Suite, I feel like it's like Monday.com and Airtable having a baby. They're interesting. You can do a lot of customization with APIs. Their cells and what you can do are pretty crazy. It has a form already built in, so you can do some wacky things. You can also change like the data visualization, change what the ingesting of data. You can instantly turn it into whatever chart that you want. Um,
Mhm.
interesting. Very specific use case, I think, for like more internal huge teams, like, you know what I'm saying, like I
Yeah,
think it's great for project management. Haven't seen a great use case for like solo creators, but
that's kind of how Monday was for me
that
too. Oh,
I've maxed it out. Hold on,
I lost you there.
I'm back.
Yes, I got
Let
you.
me, I got to get more. Look at this. I'm closing everything. I got so many things running. Let me
Well, you
close
and I
more
can just
stuff.
talk right now. We don't even need to share the screen at this point. I don't
Yeah,
think per se.
here we go. There we go. Okay, so tell me more. What's going on with your stack? What do you got?
So I just wanted to touch on that Airtable comment too, because I feel like Airtable has it's more basic just for a database. Like if you want to have a nice, powerful database without the lag of Notion. Part of the reason why I left Notion is that every time I went into my big database, it would lag behind. I was also using capacities.io, which might be interesting to some of your followers. It took a different approach to note taking and database views, and I think that's people who like Notion but want a more cleaner interface, which is saying something because Notion is pretty minimalist. Capacities is a pretty good choice. I actually left Notion for Obsidian, which is a note taking tool, then Capacities, and now, not to give too many names of people, but it's the tool I'm at now. It's called Acrium, which is this like developer focused note taking tool. But even though I'm not a developer, it's one of those things where I'm using it as my alternative information architecture tool. So I can organize all my different data, all the notes that I'm taking, all of my content I'm creating, all in one place. I think it's really cool, especially since it has the integrated task management.
How long have you been using that?
I tried it off and on a handful of times, and then I moved to it recently to like full time, basically a week and a half ago.
Could you drop that in the chat for me? Yeah, thanks. I think you just I was like, oh, perfect. Read my mind. Um, as I'm going through this, I'm looking at my like list. Oh, is this it? No. I'm clicking wrong buttons. Here we go. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not even the okay, let me bring this up now. Okay, let's try this again.
Because what better way to repurpose your content than to have a good plan from the get go?
Yep. Interesting. Okay. And so what are you planning out your entire week, your content flow? What are you doing with this?
So, okay, let me explain how I use Notion because I think that I help to a lot of people, and especially when it comes to content planning. I spent a really insane amount of time with all these different project management, task management tools. In Notion, I created a database. Actually, I created multiple databases for different content types. I realized that having them all into one database with having separate views was more efficient, and that allowed me to have this holistic system. So if I wanted to plan out my videos or this particular newsletter or this series or this content type, I could have a different database view for each. And then on the calendar view, I could drag and drop and move things around. So if I miss a day, you just push everything back. Well, Notion ended up having a lot of troubles for me, so I moved. In Obsidian, I couldn't actually plan out my content very well. There's a point to this. I'll get to that. I had to use a reminder plugin. It was the only thing I could get working in Obsidian to actually help plan out my content. So what I was doing is typing out a date, make it a task, and that was how I planned out. I just chose a day. That day is the day I'm working on that video or that blog post. Same thing kind of in capacities where I would just choose a day. It'll show up in my daily notes, but since it was a web-based tool, I never actually ended up using it. So I never actually looked at the daily notes to do that task. And Acrium, since it's local and it also has cloud syncing too, so I can go on my phone, that kind of thing, it has a built in reminder system. So, hey, on this day, you said you're going to work on this video. Well, when you do your daily note, it'll pop right up the top, and boom, you can start working on it. It's nice.
Hmm. I like that. I like that. Okay, so this actually leads us into. I had questions for you about this. I had questions
Okay.
for you about this. Okay.
I was trying to hold back because I know I can talk your ear off with this kind of stuff.
No, this is great. This is great. Okay, so I was thinking about you. You were obviously you're a master at repurposing all of these things. We've been talking about, I remember when you were rebuilding your blog, a few different
Hmm.
places, going through this. So this is my
Oh yeah.
question I had for you, right? Yeah. This is my question I have for you. So, what's your main goal with content creation?
Hmm.
I'll start there. What's your main goal?
I think that we talked about like that funnel you were pointing out earlier and how there's different layers to it. For me, it kind of goes into these different layers where I have my consistency. I have my blog posts, my videos, my podcasts, all the basic content that's different doors or leading thought leadership in that front. From there, I can make the books and courses and big projects that'll end up generating monetization. And so that's why I want to get my content out as quick as possible so I can get to those big things. I'm not rushing it. I'm just trying to do like the sprint. And I felt like I've been really behind for years. I have a lot of content ideas, and I think that for some people they would just do, I don't know, a couple dozen and they're ready. For me, I have so many different arms going on. I need to make sure I do them each at the same time.
I gotcha. So, this is just an observation, but I want to make sure I understand this correctly. So, the first portion is thought leadership. Once the thought leadership is established, then being able to
Mhm.
have different streams of income, be able to leverage that thought leadership for your brand. Is that correct?
Yeah. And I know that I'm probably spending too much time on content and not enough on the monetization. There's a lot of business focused people I've talked to who pointed that out, and I get that. My gut is telling me that I need to get this content out first, and I'm very confident in that particular way. I'm not trying to convince you per se, I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, no, no. This is good. I always say you've got to go with what makes you motivated. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like if it goes the other way, and I can see what they're coming from, and I agree that way, but it's got to work for you, man. To me, I'm thinking about thought leadership. Is it about like th- being, the more poly, or is it about a very specific thing? What's the thought leadership on? I would say.
Well, my main part of Poly Innovator, which is my personal brand, is around knowledge management for polymaths. So organizing your life using tools like Acrium and Notion, whatever tool you prefer, and managing your multidisciplinary life. There's a lot of people out there like Tiago Forte who made these systems that you can use for Notion, like the second brain stuff, but they were first off coming from a more specialist mindset. And on top of that, these methodologies like Zettelkasten and is another famous one, they were all formulated and created well before any of these tools existed. I created my system, the PIOS, with these tools in mind. In fact, I just wrote a post about how it could adapt to many different tools, and I'm probably going to make content as a baseline for these tools and then release templates, which I could either sell or give out for free depending on the purpose. And that's kind of the step ladder there.
Yeah. That that makes sense to me. No, this makes sense. This is just my observation. And first of all, I see how much you write. I'm like, man, I need to start writing this more. Like,
I think I got
I
560 blog posts now.
I'm like, bro, I need to start writing. And like, don't even get me started. Half the time, I'm just having AI write based off my videos. But I need to start like writing.
Mhm.
The thing that jumps out to me is being a thought leader, and this could be perceived or otherwise, but half is perception, especially with thought leadership, or being in a space.
Mhm.
What's your thoughts on what is the convention for being a polymath? Like, what are the main things? Where are the main people and everything like that?
Yeah, so there's actually a handful of researchers, master's and PhD level, who are trying to define like what is a polymath, what makes a polymath. Michael Rocky, Dr. Cotalesa, the Bernsteins, they have a lot of great content around that, and I actually work with Dr. Angela Cotalesa quite a bit on this. And we're trying to all figure out how do we define what a polymath is. And the basic consensus is someone with three or more expert level like specialties with an insatiable curiosity. Like you're just constantly trying to learn, constantly trying to improve. I had you on the Polymath podcast because I thought you were very polymathic. I still do. And it's one of those things where being polymathic, I think, is a very natural human course. While we definitely have a need for specialists, and there's plenty of people out in the world who naturally gear towards that hyper specialization, that narrow focus, if you will, being a generalist is more human. There was actually a study, I think the Max Planck Institute of Technology or something like that. I don't remember the full title. They did a paper on how Homo sapiens evolved versus the other hominins back in hundreds of thousands of years ago. And it was because our species was able to adapt to new environments and stimuli very effectively. They could be generalists that caused us to be the ones who survived, which I think is fascinating. But that's me nerding out there a little bit.
To me, as you're talking, and I mean, this is a challenge I have for you. And as we're going, of course, you don't have to do it, but this is something because you are putting out a lot of content. And when I'm thinking about being a thought leader, what you should do, all those things, I view it as a couple of things. Number one, you could be on the stage or be on that conference of whatever is for that industry, or you and this was a quote from one of the guests from Creative Live creator. But anyway, the point is I'm getting off on a tangent. You can step out of the parade and you're making your own parade, or you're getting your own line. That being either you're releasing your own report where you're bringing out the standard and people now associate you with a certain thing, or you're creating that conference or that event that people are like, oh no, that's you. Oh, Dustin put that on and it's all about poly. And now you're building that level of expertise, or that really that thought leadership, having a type of event or a signature report. Because especially with what you're doing, if you're collecting all this data, you're doing all these things, you putting out a yearly report, that just associates people with your brand. And then it leads them to all of your other content.
So I don't know about a report per se, but I was thinking about, I don't know how I would do this because it's kind of like, how do you quantify this? Every guest I've had on my show, I wanted to do like this mental model kind of thing where I make a blog post around their mental model and then compile it all into a book. I also think it'd be really nice to have a conference. There was one conference that was kind of similar in nature, but it was too private and too kind of egotistical, if you will, that came out. I think we need to have a much more open-minded conference, and one that's more open to people of all levels. Because to me, polymathy, yes, you have to be a multi-expert to be a polymath, but to be polymathic on any level is pretty capable, pretty possible. A lot of people who are generalists or jack of all trades are polymathic, and they're on their journey to becoming a polymath. Hence why my newsletter is called Journey to Polymath.
I think I love that. I'm thinking about, and this is just me. But if I'm looking at a conference about either neuroscience or some kind of skill-based something, and even if it was at one of these conferences, I don't care if it's in Vegas, if it's whatever thing, you having a fireside chat or you starting just that, and you just hijack the event. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone that's already into what you're talking about is already there. And you're like, oh yeah, I rented out this. I don't care if it's at the bar. But now that starts the process of, okay, Dustin did this. Okay. He Polyinnovate. Okay. He did. And now it's the association. I think that's very real in the next 12 months. I would love for you to do that. I would love to see you do something like
I would love to do some keynotes and even just private panels. It was kind of funny is that my solo cast is called the Fireside Polycast.
Yeah, this is too, and then you just do it in real life. Come on, man. This is already meant
Doc,
for
you.
Hold on a second. I'm looking at this right now. Hold on a second. People are wondering, like, what is he typing over there? I'm on Hey Summit right now. I'm looking for events because we need you speaking somewhere. Hold on a second. Where is
I'm hopefully going to a lot more events now this year as well.
This is, to me, I think that's the game. Is my face here? Huh. Okay, they didn't tell me.
That's nice.
I was like, what in the world?
I recognize that guy.
I'll take that. All right, good enough. I think, okay, are you in the speaker network?
I am not.
Okay. Number one, I would start registering as a speaker here. Then I got to look on the other side where this is, but you can definitely look at the different speakers, like, the different conferences. I would try to start doing that, like you doing 1 to 4 a year, virtual. If you want to do it in person, but like you've got it, you've got it. And you've already interviewed people. You're great with panels. You can just. I already see you karaokeing. I know that you can just think on your feet. So I would say for building your brand and that thought leadership, I think you need to get out there more. And you already have your own methodology. What was the say? What was the
PIOS.
say it again? Say it one more time.
PIOS. It's the Poly Innovation Operating System.
See, I love it.
PIOS. Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. So you've already got that. You take one piece of the operating system, you take one portion of it, and you run with this as you're speaking. I think if I was looking at this path, the courses, all of those things will come. And we're talking about repurposing, and you already see half of these people. They're just repurposing the talks wherever they're at. And you
I
could
can't
be doing
wait for that.
You know?
Can't wait to be the next like Gary Vee kind of thing.
You can do this, man. I'm telling you. I would be talking to Hey Summit. I would definitely join this and then go from there. That would be my goal for like content for this year. I would look at that. That's what I'm
Definitely.
thinking.
Thank you for showing me. You and I swear, we always pull out something. Like when it comes to any kind of website or tool, if you guys have a problem or a solution that you're looking for, talk to Doc and see what you can do. I don't know why it does the light mode on my site. Like,
You don't
go dark mode. I do not optimize it for light mode at all.
No problem. And I'm putting it in the chat. Yeah. Check it out, everybody. I love it, man. I love it. I really, and of course, that you always hit me up on Twitter. I'm like, man, I gotta step it up.
I found one recently. It was Reddit to vid, there's another one called Make Reels, and I think I sent it to you, but I'll share them in the chat here again, so people can see. These are 2 new tools that I think combined with Opus Clip, you could have 3 different kinds of content types that you're making tons of content. So Make Reels, for example, you can drop in your blog post and turn it into a reel. And I tested it out today or yesterday, just with actually the post I think you're looking at right now, this PIOS 2024. And it was like, I feel like there's some tweaks I need to do, like tweak some wording there. Like it's very third person. I would rather have it first person, that kind of thing. Add your logo. I was like, that's really cool. I have 560 blog posts. At least 400 of those would be good as, reels. And then there's the Reddit one where you can take Reddit posts and turn it into a TikTok. That's already blowing up to a lot of different things. Like, that's super cool.
I'm doing too much. Listen, I know what I was saying. That is crazy. Okay, I'm bringing this back up, everybody. Apologize.
So I've made 1,500 clips with Opus Clip, and just imagine what I'd be able to do with at least other 2 tools on top of that.
That's crazy.
1,500.
That's crazy. All right, I gotta take a look at this. So what is it doing? It's taking. I gotta just read about it, I guess. Let's see.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but like 2 years ago, we were talking about how there's those Python bots.
Oh, yeah.
Those videos automatically. This is a tool for that. Because I found so many different like GitHub repositories, but I don't want to install Python on my computer and do a Docker interface or something like that.
It's a lot.
So like this, I haven't tested this tool out. I have no idea how good it is, but I was like, you know what? There's some cool subreddits around Polymathy I could do.
That's
I actually
cool.
hired somebody to make a Polymathy r/polymath Reddit video, which is kind of cool. I'd love to keep doing that.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. All right. We got some tools here. One last thing. This is what I was going to say. As you were talking about like content creation, we've been talking about it before. I think it was on your show. Active pieces. I was thinking about what if you, I have one more for you, actually. I think it could be a mixture of, and you probably already saw this. Did you see Mind Studio? I'm doing a video about them next week. Have you seen Mind Studio? Okay.
I don't know. Talk to me about it because it doesn't.
So Mind Studio is kind of a mixture of, I would say, almost like Make or Zapier with AI. And so I would say if you've seen Chatbase or something like that, I would say it's even more meticulous than you could be. And instead of you being in like a sandbox in OpenAI, it allows you to start mastering your inputs and everything and personalizing it. And I was thinking about the prompts that you have. Okay, let me just log in,
Before we
because
wrap up, too, we should also talk about scheduling all these short
okay,
form content. I think that's how we should end
this
this
yeah,
call after
we're
that.
we're gonna talk about it. So you see right? Can you see it? Let me
Yep,
zoom
data
in.
sources.
Okay, all right. Let me zoom in. So you see right here, you can have data sources. I'm thinking about if you had it as an HTML or a different format, you could already have it when it's queuing what's happening. It can already have all of your blog posts as that information or your syntax, all of those things. And then when you want to create more posts, different places, it takes all of that information, it takes
Mhm.
what you want to talk about that day, then it will make all of those pieces of content for you. The one thing I do have to see is if it has an open API for you to be able to take it to then schedule it or put it into whatever platform you want. But I really see a lot of promise with this. I'm still
Mhm.
new at it, but you can really not only can you send message, this is you sending the system the prompts as well, right? So
Mhm.
you can start talking back and forth. It's not just sending a message to the user. There's a lot of things. I'm still getting used to it. I'm still checking it out. But for content creation, what you were saying, I'm like, this
It's
can you
interesting,
just
yeah.
put it on a schedule and now
Mhm.
it's doing all the content for you. It's structuring it based on your own data sources, which is yourself that you've already done for
And
years.
we should probably warn the audience too. Like, there's a point of over automation, but there's also a point where people don't automate enough at the same
Yeah.
time, and it's very
Yeah.
interesting dynamic. You and I are very much nerdy about it, so we're kind of like, I think it's kind of hard to realize for some people where when they first start out, automation seems kind of even Zapier seems kind of like, oh, that's
Yeah.
kind of esoteric, kind of out there. But automation can be a huge deal, especially if you're a solo creator making a lot of content a lot quicker. That's how I was able to do like with Opus Clip. I was able to make so much more because it allowed me to automate a lot of the process.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, this is good. All right. We're going to wrap up on this one last thing. Let's talk about scheduling. I have thoughts on it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What's up?
So I am in a very weird place right now because I was using Publer. I wasn't too happy with it because it kept breaking on me every other time I tried using it. And the thing is, ever since I started blogging 10 or 11 years ago, Doc, I've been looking for a social media management tool to help me with my content. Particularly because I wanted RSS to social. Like I want anytime I make a new blog post, send out a tweet, send out a Facebook post, that kind of thing. A lot of the tools can do that, some not as well as others. We can put that off to the side. What I've been looking for in the last few years is a tool to allow me to automatically post to TikTok, Shorts, Reels, and ideally Pinterest as well, because Pinterest is a huge traffic booster if you get good on there. And what I found is even for like Publer, which again I'm calling them out because it's one of those things where the bulk scheduling feature they had is one of their oldest features. The founder was even saying how like they don't really touch it anymore, and I kept having issues where it kept breaking on me. It's like this is only tools that allow me to
Wh-
bulk upload without using a CSV method. I hate using the CSV method.
What was it doing? Was it giving you errors? What happened when you were using the bulk upload?
It would either be errors or it would just kind of be in a loading loop or it would be to the
How
point
much
where
were you
like
uploading at once?
at one point it was like 30 to 60, and then the last few times I've been doing it, it was like 50 to 20 because it was just one of the
Okay.
things where I took it down a notch because like maybe I was posting too much or whatever. Because I had, like I said, 1,500 clips to get through, and I've only done half of them at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also one up, which is I think they can technically do bulk scheduling, but I'm not. They're super expensive. So at this point, I'm kind of thinking, what do I need to do to get all these content out? I might just do Airtable or Mind Studio or something like that, and just make a database, send it out on a schedule, and do it that way. Because there seems to be no tool on the market that can do bulk upload for these multi platforms.
Yeah, I don't. It's to so I'm gonna go real old school. I haven't used them in years. I think about Meet Edgar or Hootsuite. What are we talking about?
I can't stand Hootsuite. It's overpriced and overrated. Meet Edgar's
Yeah.
pretty good, especially when it comes to AI. I don't think they have pretty much all the tools. Like 99% of these social media management tools, Meet Edgar, Hootsuite, they if they have a bulk option, it's only the CSV option, meaning you have to fill out a whole bunch of different items on there and do it however many hundred times. And the issue is you're uploading to like Dropbox or Google Drive, then having to manually copy the link for every single post into that CSV. And that's how it's pulling the video up. And that's why I don't like it, because that's a lot of extra meta work when in
Yeah.
actuality, it'd probably just be faster to do it one at a time.
So there's two things that I think about. Exactly what you're saying. I would probably use a database. I might use StackB.
Mhm.
The reason I would go with them is they specialize in the different blocks that you're using for their databases and how you're doing the like API pulls. You can even do it by cell. They're
Mhm.
pretty crazy. Um, Again, not the sexiest look, but it's probably one of the most powerful like platforms to be able to do with a database. The other thing was when you were asking me, or you weren't asking me, I was just writing down notes. But when you were talking about it, is at this point, I think it's going to be the next couple of months, just writing a small script and using AI, and writing the script to just pull it and
Mhm.
doing it. Um, Hold on.
I should also mention Opus
Yeah.
has a social posting feature, and it's relatively pretty good, I would say. Like as someone who's looked at over 100 social media management tools, it's pretty good. The only reason why I don't use that, and I even one of my people from Opus was even giving me crap today about it. They were like, "Why aren't you using Opus as scheduler?" Well, it's because I have a lot of my clips I made before that feature was even introduced, and so I have a lot of clips on the backlog that I can't schedule through there.
Mm.
How'd I just start out? If I was only posting one a day like you were talking about, are you still there, boy? Duck? Oh. Well, I guess I lost them a little bit. So everyone, hello. I'm Dustin. I was just saying how if I had started out or if I'm doing just that one optimized clip like Doc is doing with his new channel, then I could use the Opus scheduler that way, that kind of thing. Hopefully, we can get him back here in a little bit. There we go. I was just doing a little chat with the audience there. Took
Thank-
over the show.
I have never been kicked out of StreamYard. This is the first, of course. But tell me more. You were saying you couldn't get the backlog for Opus Clip.
Yeah.
Don't want to go
But
back and because you have all this, yeah.
if I was doing like what you're doing, the sniper approach, we were talking about the sniper versus shotgun approach, right? You were trying to make the most optimized clip and you wanted to do it that way. And if you weren't already exporting to like CapCut or something like that, but if you're just doing it all in Opus, which the editor is getting improved here soon too, so you might be able to do it just all
Oh.
in Opus anyways.
Hmm.
Yeah, on the nose,
Okay.
like sneak.
Okay.
I'm excited because they're gonna like redo the timeline, I think too. It's like, oh, finally.
Yeah.
And so if you do it all in Opus and you're like, I want to schedule it out, and if you're only doing one a day like you were planning there, then you could just use Opus as scheduler super easily and send it all to posts, all the different
Yeah.
sites. And what's really cool is that you could reformat it too. So if you had that same clip, make it into a horizontal one, send it to LinkedIn and Twitter. And
I love
TikTok's
that.
also pushing for longer form clips. And Opus just came out with a medium length clips. You could do 5, 10, 15-minute clips on Opus.
Mm.
And they're the only tool on the market that automatically finds those longer segment clips like these big podcasters are doing.
See, this is what I'm saying. Like, and agreed. Like, and that's why I was asking, like, your goals, where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if I was doing that, I think what you're doing is on the right track. I would, if it was really bothering you, and it's like, man, I want this. It's almost just paying someone to run a script locally. You know what I'm saying on your computer, and then just like automatically will do it. That's the only way to be like surefire
Yeah. That's what I
without
was thinking about doing at this point.
without doing it like expensive. The other ones are gonna charge you a kidney to do it for you, but it's on the market, but why do it? But you could probably spend less money just getting someone to write a script and then you just run it locally on your computer. I would probably be using a database like I mean, I would depends on how much you want. I mean, I might even just use like Superbase for how
Mm-hmm.
much you have. You run it, you have the script, you're good to go. And you can use like build ship or something if you're running very specific, like you have to deal with the APIs of these different sites and just go from there. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like this dialogue because where I'm at is kind of an extreme position, right? I have hundreds of clips to put out. I'm making more every week, and every time I make another interview, that's another 15 or so clips to add to the whole roster there. And that's not even really, I think, including the gaming clips that I'm doing, or even the solo videos that I'm doing, and or all the stuff I'm going to be doing. while not everyone's going to be in the same position as me, the problem I'm facing is going to be still the problem they face as well. So everyone listening in, at some point, you're going to need to find a tool that's right for you, and testing and testing and testing is the best way to find out which one is best. And maybe me and Doc will make a tool. We don't know.
Listen, I'm telling you, I haven't told anyone this actually. You're the first one to know this. I'm in a coding boot camp right now. I know this is shocking on this channel.
No code is doing coding? What?
I know people are like, what is the point? What is he doing? But it's a pretty interesting thing. It's a low lift. Again, I will use any tool that will allow me to get to my goals. And if that's part coding or whatever, that's you name it. The reason no code happened was because I needed to move quicker and I didn't understand main concepts, and I was just having a lot of problems. But like things like Replit and Teach, there's so many copilots. And if you understand the basics of coding, you can now use this power to go and build custom micro SaaS, micro Chrome extensions for just yourself. There's so many things out there. So I'm doing a web development boot camp. It started this week.
Nice.
It's 12 weeks, but like it's using a very specific library to build. Like I just want to build my own micro SaaS. If I don't want the confines to certain platforms, I can just plug it in and use different libraries. So again, I'm debating. I'm like, because all this, like, I'm not sure if this channel even wants to see that. So I'm like, maybe I'll just put it on a different channel. But
on the main Doc Williams or something like that, maybe.
Yeah. Because if it's I'll send you the link. It's bootcamp.dev. But I'm like, I'm not sure if people are like gonna boo it and be like, no, this is terrible. But I want to show people like it's an evolve. You're innovating on what you're doing. Like, and with all of these things like running scripts, customizing, I'm like,
you can do it so much easier. Polymathic curiosity.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's funny that you bring up the micro SaaS because this past week I was trying to find a solution to my, clip scheduling problem. And I went through the ends of the earth on Twitter and on the r/micro SaaS subreddit and on the side project subreddit, and just trying to see if anybody made any kind of tool that would help me. That's how I found a lot of these other tools too. It's like I just went on there and just went on a deep dive to see if I could find anything that will help.
See, to be continued. Let me know what you're working on. This is what happens when we talk. This is why, oh man, this could go on too long. So what we're going to do is, for people watching, make sure, let us know if you're watching a hashtag replay or watching it live. If you have questions about automation, about repurposing, turning your skills into money, all these tools that me and Dustin are using, let us know. And Dustin, tell the good people, where can they find you? What should they be following? All that stuff.
So a couple things I want to mention is that I make a quarterly tech stack, and I just released my tech stack post where I shared what I was doing, like what I use at this time. I think it's a very interesting series because things change. We use different tools. I also interviewed you on my new channel where I talk to different content creators and we just talk shop, kind of like how we're doing today. And that's the Poly Content channel. My actual main personal brand is Poly Innovator. There's a lot of polys everywhere, but polyinnovator.space is my site. You can find everything on there, and I hope that I can help you out. Ask me a question if you have something that you want to find a solution for.
Awesome, man. Well, again, Dustin, Poly Innovator, thank you so much for being here and coming by, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good day.